Hello and welcome to Friday at 11, the parent blogger chat show. I'm Ali from Bugbird and Bee. I actually haven't got a lower third, but I can show you this. So that's me. Yay! Clever thinking there. And I'm joined by Penny.
Hi everyone, I'm Penny Carr from Being Mrs. C.
And we have Joanne.
Hello, I'm Joanne from Kids Days Out Reviews.
We usually have Joy from Pink Oddie and Helen from Kiddie Charts, but I don't know what's happened today. Anyway, we're going to get on. Today we're going to talk about Periscope. It's the new live streaming app that came out back in March on Apple iPhones, and then a month later it came out on Android. I heard of Meerkat before that, but Meerkat's independent. Periscope is owned by Twitter, but they've been going longer development, so that's why they came out after Meerkat. Tried Meerkat, didn't get on with it, and it's a bit different to Periscope because once your broadcast's gone live, that's it. You can't replay, you can't watch it again. The last few weeks, it's slowly got momentum in the UK blogosphere, and it seems that everybody's now either got an opinion on Periscope, whether they like it, whether they hate it, or they're not quite sure. My opinion is a great tool for looking on the inside of somebody's life that you wouldn't normally see. It's not edited, like if you're a vlogger. It's raw, it's through their eyes, and they can interact with you. So when you're live streaming, you can talk, and at the bottom of the screen, the people that are watching, they can chat with you. And if they like the broadcast, they can tap the screen and give you hearts. And the more hearts that a broadcast gets, the more it gets shown up on the global watching list. I've been using it 3 weeks. I actually bought a special tripod just before we went to Brick Mums. That was sort of the first couple of days I used it. And it's quite unique, I think. I'm going to pass it over to the other ladies, and then we're going to share some chips. I
wish you were sharing chips.
As we go along. So let's go to Joanne. Periscope.
Yeah, I think I probably started using Periscope first, but it took me a little while to get my head around what it was because there were even fewer people when I started it, really. Which was probably in about 3 weeks before Ali anyway, so you know, it's not like back in my day. But yeah, I was a bit freaked out at first because if you set something to public, anybody can watch it, which is great because it gets you more audience. But I put my children in mind quite a lot because obviously we're Kids Days Out. That's what we do. We go out with the kids. And I started seeing on other people's Periscope videos comments coming in from people which probably weren't perverts, but the things that they said probably would commenting in a way that to freak people out, to freak you out basically. And I saw a couple of videos. I saw one by Susanna House, I think it was, Brit Mums, and her daughter was reading the comments out to her as they were coming in because she was filming them, and I nearly stepped in and said, look, please stop your daughter reading these comments out because they're meant in an inappropriate manner. And I kind of stopped using it for a little while because I didn't really want to put my children on something where other people could watch who I didn't know who they were and they were commenting. But I've since found that what you can do is you can lock down comments so that only people who follow you can comment, which has made a massive difference, to be honest, because I kind of think, you know, people were commenting just to get a rise out of you, I think, and just to wind you up. Now they can't do that, and I'm not a lot happier now about putting things on. I still get the odd sort of silly comment on there, really. What I was doing, I mean, I was doing a giraffe feeding Periscope a few weeks ago. We was at Longleat Safari Park, and I was Periscoping out my children feeding these leaves to giraffes, and it was brilliant. There was loads of people loving it, and then I got people on, and somebody said, "Oh, does that giraffe lick hot ass?" or something like that, and I just went, "Oh, for goodness sake, it's a giraffe video." You know, if you've come on here to watch pervy videos, you've come to the wrong place, really, let's face it, because it's usually my kids going round and round on a roundabout, feeding giraffes, going through a butterfly house. You know, it's nothing particularly exotic, let's say. They're going to be very disappointed if they're following me for the hot ass action. But yeah, the blocking feature on Periscope I think works quite well, which I really like. And I like the fact that it does sort of coordinate with Twitter so that you can find people that you already follow and already know on there, which is great. No, I like it. I'm kind of liking it so far, I think. I'm just very careful what I put on there for a while until I get more confidence in it, really.
Yeah, I haven't done anything with the kids. Like you said, when we went to Harry Potter, I did live streaming then. So I sort of like cut to them and I cut to me to do face to camera while we were all going around. But a lot of it was the action that was actually there. And I've blocked 3 people so far. And to block somebody, you just press their profile as it comes up on the screen and it will come up with an option on what you want to do. So it's, yeah, blocking is really easy. And if you want to, you can, after the broadcast is finished, you can go back to your blocked user list and you can report them if you think it's really appropriate. But I think it, like you said, I think it's just people messing about. I don't think they're actually going to do anything inappropriate. My main concern is where I broadcast from. You can choose where to pinpoint exactly where you are. And I don't mind doing that if I'm away from home. I didn't do it last time we did a broadcast from here, and when I played it back, it actually said I was in London, which I didn't mind. So Penny, what are your views so far?
I've not used it a huge amount. I have to admit, I didn't know anything about it, Ali, until you started talking about it before Brett Mums. I'd not. I think I must. Actually, no, that's a slight lie. I had heard about it because one of the local radio DJs here, who the guy whose show I do my Thrifty slot on, he uses it sometimes in the studio. So he'd been pushing these things out on Twitter, and I happened to have gone in, tried to click to watch something one day, and then found myself in Periscope. It had downloaded the app on my phone, so I've used that to watch some of his shows. So when he has guests in the studio, obviously it's a radio show, so you can't see the guests. But what he started doing is periscoping it as well, which is quite interesting. So I'm on his show actually next Monday, so it'll be interesting to see if we can do a periscope then of the show as well. So I'd seen it then, but I hadn't really quite understood what it was. Obviously I spoke to you about it when we were at Brit Mums together. And there's something about it that kind of freaks me out a little bit. I think it's the fact that, you know, the evidence goes within 24 hours. And I think when someone's doing something on the internet, or even if it's just commenting, if they know it's going to be there permanently, I think they put a little bit more thought into it than if it's something that's only going to be there for 24 hours, if you see what I mean. And I was slightly freaked out when I went on there from home for the first time and had a look at finding local people who are scoping at the time, so you can bring up the map view. And the nearest one to me, which is only a few streets away, when you looked at what it was going to be, I didn't click through to the video because the description just said vaginas, vaginas, vaginas. And I just said, oh, I don't really like this. So that's kind of put me off a little bit. The only scopes I've done so far, when I was down at Brit Mums, I commuted back home overnight, and then on the second day I had to get the good old replacement bus service. And I did some scopes from the train window and the bus window, and all it was literally me just holding up my phone out of the window. I didn't do any talking. You could just hear the background noise of traffic or trains or whatever. And I think one of them had over 60 people watching it live, which just was kind of a bit weird, really. So yeah, I haven't really made my mind up about Periscope. I can see it be quite good if you're out at like a tourist attraction or something, or maybe doing a nice walk somewhere or something like that. Or, I mean, if something live happened in front of you, to be honest, by the time I'd actually got in my phone and typed in a title, the event would probably be over. Whereas I'm more likely, because I know how to do it quickly, to quickly turn my phone on and take a video. So like if a newsworthy event was happening in front of me, I could probably do that quite quickly. But yeah, I'm like Joe said, I'm a bit wary about my kids being on there. So whereas I will put my kids on YouTube because I can censor it first, and also because I don't use my kids' real names on the internet, I wouldn't want my kids suddenly being there and one of them shouting to the other with their real name and stuff like that. I mean, I know it's only there for 24 hours, but again, it's just my own personal filter on things. But it is addictive viewing. There's a guy I follow who just seems to walk the streets of London, And it's really interesting, and he just chats along, going, "Oh, I'm walking around here now. Oh, that pub, I've not been in there before. Oh, they're doing up that restaurant. Doesn't that look nice?" And it's addictive. But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so just to recap, Brit Mums is a blogging conference that me and Penny went to a few weeks ago, parent bloggers. So that's where we talk about Brit Mums. Yet there's quite a big divide, I think. There's people who I watch quite a big mix of people, marketeers, entrepreneurs, and very slick talking, and they want to sell you something, but they use Periscope to get you to go to their website. And so what Periscope does, the first few seconds of you record starting to broadcast, those just few seconds will be used as your thumbnail. So what the entrepreneurs are doing is they use their camera and they go to the screen of where their website is, and they do that for a few seconds before flipping the camera around to them. So when you start a broadcast, you always see their website. I don't really care. I'd rather you just tell me. And when I do a broadcast, I wait for people to join me, and I say, "Hi, I'm Ali, blah blah blah. If you don't know me, I'm a blogger," and I, did like that. I wouldn't go around keep on focusing on the website, which is what these people do. Then, just like Penny, there's a guy called Derek Cowan, and he's traveling through Vietnam, and he's on a moped. So he does moped cam scopes, and then he stops and he goes off to temples, and he shows you around the temples, and he shows the food that's there. And it's not a lot of his face, but he's talking all the time, and it's beautiful scenery, and he's getting hearts and hearts galore, and he's got hundreds of thousands of followers, kind of thing. So that kind of thing, you watch people from around the world, and then you got the people that show you how to make stuff. Seen a few people show you how to cook their dinner, and then there's people who just sit there and they wait for people to join. They're just not doing anything, and they're expecting you to ask questions. Well, I don't know you, so why would I ask you a question? I think the most interesting ones that I've watched are ones that are giving information or an insight to something you wouldn't normally see. So one of my favourite people is Dan Snow, the history guy. He was up this morning a tall ship in Belfast, and he was going a huge history lesson about Belfast, where he was, about the tall ships, about the Titanic, and all about the rigging and all this kind of thing. Now, that probably won't get shown on television. It's his insight to where he was, which is really interesting. Seeing backstage pop stars, before they go on to Glastonbury and that kind of thing. Wimbledon, that's been really interesting.
But these are things that... Go on.
Sorry.
No, go on. I was going to say these are things that are already interesting now. I mean, Dan Snow isn't interesting because he's on Periscope. Dan Snow's interesting because he knows all this history and he is Dan Snow. And I think Periscope is just another way of somebody who wants to reach an audience reaching that audience. But I think boring people on social media are always going to be boring, and interesting people are always going to be interesting. Yeah, I know Periscope does not make you it can't make whatever you're doing interesting unless it's already of interest to somebody. So
there's one guy that he wants to be on television, and that he's pretty much all his broadcasts are rehearsed before he goes on. Even though he's sort of he makes it as if he's being, he walks around the house and he's putting on a shirt because he's, he knows that he's good looking, he's married and everything, but he's putting away the stuff in the thing, he's, flexing his muscles, and then, and he goes about what he's been doing today and all this kind of thing, but he knows he's good looking, and when people comment, he says, thank you for your support and all this lot. If you really like my broadcast, keep picking the hearts, and I don't forget to share my broadcast. And then he did this thing with getting people to join his Periscopes, and he offered an Amazon card, and his first few scopes are right, I'm going to give away an Amazon gift card in a couple of days. And he didn't say when, but he did quite a few scopes over a few days, and he kept saying, right, I'm going to give away this card, but I need to get to X amount of hearts, so please give me lots of hearts. So he did that, and he got to X amount of hearts. He said, right, I need more Periscope followers. Can you make sure you share the broadcast that I'm so he did that. And then the next day he said, right, I'm going to put a link up on Twitter. Make sure you follow me on Twitter and retweet this. And it got retweeted like 100 times that if you followed him on Periscope, he'll give away this card, Amazon gift card. So this went over like 3 or 4 days. And at that time, he was like top of the most love on Periscope. And he had stupid amount of Twitter followers, Periscope, and they gave away a £25 Amazon gift card. No, it was $25, so it actually was only about £12 English pounds. It didn't have to do anything, and of course that more broadcasts he was doing, the more that it was going to be showcased. And he actually said he'd come back after that. He had more brands come to offer to work with him.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what's the point of that? Because you know, nobody's really going to give you money to be a Periscope expert unless
they are
brand thing.
I've watched so many.
It's just buying followers. It's just
yeah. I mean, I'm watching loads of the entrepreneur ones. They sort of like, you know, encouraging you to be how to use Periscope for better kind of thing. And they each day they say, well, I'm going to give you another tip tomorrow. So that encourages you to stay tuned and keep following them. And then they say, right, you've got to share this broadcast. Make sure you give them so many hearts. And they're sort of they're gripping you into be sort of like, you know, oh, you're so cool. But a lot of the Periscope stuff can be found online anyway. So you don't need to be following these people showing you how to use Periscope.
No, and I think it sort of sucks the joy out of it a lot as well, doesn't it? Because I mean, like Penny was saying earlier, you know, it's not as it's much more fleeting than YouTube. So people think maybe they can get away with more because it's not going to be broadcast on the internet later. There's going to be no trace. So it's kind of a little bit more anarchic, I think, at the minute than other social media networks. It's very of the moment.
Yes.
And you kind of, once it's done, it's done. You can't edit it. You know, you've got to be really careful what you say. But then you know, people are just kind of sterilising it by applying all these other different methods I've got from elsewhere. It's just a bit sad to me, really, I think.
It is, and I've made sure I followed. I'd rather watch somebody that I don't know. There's quite a few Facebook friends that I've been friends for many years, but they don't do YouTube, but they're doing Periscope because it's easy to use. You don't have to worry about editing, and you get to talk to people all the time. And I'd rather watch them going for a walk and be able to talk to them in real time and them show where they live than have to be sat down and watch somebody trying to get money out of me or give me over. It's really too slick and professional, those ones, and I'm not following them anymore.
But it's like the whole thing, though, the whole use of social media by brands. You know, it could be even to Twitter. You know, when you see people who are tweeting all the time for brand stuff, it does kind of leave you a bit more not that interested, if you say what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Absolutely. And I was just hoping they'd leave Periscope a bit longer before that went down the same path. But I think within about 4 seconds of it launching, there was people realising that if they could get a lot of followers, they maybe at some point in the future might get a lot of work.
See, it's funny because I'm kind of almost going the reverse at the moment. I think I've had a week where I had a problem with my eyes, so I couldn't see properly and I couldn't sit down and use my laptop as much because I just got blinding headaches. And it's interesting because it's made me almost reassess how I'm using social media and things like that because I'm having less time online. And I kind of like that because I'm finding that when I'm going online, I'm looking for the blogs, which are the blogs that I've been reading for years and years and years. I'm checking up on Twitter and that for the people that I've been following for years and years and years, rather than, you know, just fleeting things, you know. And I don't know, it's just kind of made me think about all of social media a bit differently, I think.
No, well, actually, going back to what you just said then, this is my 3rd day of a social media detox. I had plans to sort of like nothing, but actually I've just scaled back completely. No Pinterest or Instagram since Saturday or Sunday. I'm only logging into Facebook and Twitter at the end of the day, unless I know there's somebody going to be tweeting. Like this morning is the country kids thing, so I spoke to Fiona a couple of tweets. But yeah, reassessing how much exposure you're putting yourself out there as well, I think. You know, if you're seen everywhere, people say, well, what do you do with your life? What kind of life do you kind of have if all you're doing is Instagram and Facebook, you know, and
I think it's also important to have a bit of life that remains yours and remains private and things like that as well. You know, I mean, I do plenty of things that I mention in passing, but I don't go into details about. You know, I spend a lot of time doing school governor stuff, for instance, but obviously for various reasons you don't talk about the intricacies and stuff. You know, so I hold a lot back. You know, it's.
Because you know, one of my big things is reading. Oh, it's Joy. Hello. One of my big things is that I like reading graphic novels and comics, but I don't really talk about that online because people say, 40-year-old woman reading graphic novels kind of thing. But yeah, so there's lots of things that people don't know about me just because I don't think people would be interested. Yeah, so there is that. So right, I'm going to give a few tips before we. I think we might have to go over a bit. Right, so when you're signing in to Periscope, you can sign in with your Twitter name. You can choose a different name. A lot of people are suggesting to actually use your real name as opposed to your Twitter name, if that makes sense. So, for example, I wouldn't be Bugbird, be Ali Hodge, but I didn't know that until after I signed up. You can have several accounts. You can sign in with your phone as well. You don't have to use your Twitter account. Finding people, it suggests people that I'm following on Twitter, and once I found somebody that I know, I go and see who they're following, and I follow who they're following, basically.
Ali, question for you, Ali. Why are they suggesting using your real name rather than your Twitter name?
I think it's like any social media, even if you don't plan to use it, you've got it. Maggie's talking about it at Britmums. She said just even if you park your name, just so nobody can use it. Because when I changed my name from plus 2.4 to Bugbird and B, somebody said to me, have you still got that account? I said no. And when I went over within the day, some Arabic person had taken my name. So all my plus 2.4 tweets, people were tweeting to me because they didn't realise he was getting. And then, of course, he was tweeting out all kinds of stuff in my name. So even if you don't plan to use it, then you should take the name anyway. But yes, so yeah, you can sign in different ways. If you haven't used Periscope yet, go to your settings and you can save all your Periscopes to your camera roll. That way they're kept forever, and you can choose then whether to upload them to YouTube, Facebook, and whatever. And I know the iPhone is better. Apparently, there's more features than on Android, and actually when you're scoping there's better quality scopes. I use a tripod when I'm filming, even if it's face to face. It's just easier to carry around with a tripod. I don't have it here because I lost it and I'm waiting for another one to arrive, but it's easier when you're filming, and then you can just use your other hand to tap, and if you're steadier, if you're doing something that's like on the countertop or whatever. Yeah, when you're out and about, and if you're doing sort of like walks or attraction, it's good to flip so people can see who you are, as opposed to keep, you know, and be wary where you're putting your camera. So I try and hold it up a little bit, because sometimes when you go to do the chat box, you're not seeing anything. You can follow people that are chatting to you, so you can choose to follow them while you're doing the broadcast. People can talk to each other during the broadcast, they don't just talk to you. When you're tapping on the screen, you give lots of hearts, and there's 14 different colours. And those you can give up to, I think there's about 500 hearts in one broadcast. That's the maximum somebody can get. To make your scopes more interesting, ask people where they're coming from, where they live, what the weather's like, what they've been doing, just to keep the conversation going. A lot of people that I've seen, they just sit there and go, right, ask me a question. Well, I don't know who you are, so why am I going to ask you a question? It should be the other way around. You ought to be asking your audience at them, make them more interested in it, you know, and not everybody will enter your chat from the beginning. So if you want to sort of introduce yourself every couple of minutes, I think 10 minutes is the maximum amount of retention that somebody will watch your scope for. So try and keep them short. And if you're at somewhere that you're doing a retraction or something, then say, you know, do them 3 minutes and move on to go on to somewhere else, as opposed to keep going around and everything. Something I picked up from Brit Mums is if you're going to talk to somebody, make sure you get their permission before you shove the camera in their face. They might get offended. So when you go around and you say, do you mind if I talk to you on Periscope, so I scream in, and if they say yes, then, you know. What other things?
Blocking people. I've only done one, and I had someone putting all sorts of horrible stuff.
Yeah,
I knew how to block him, so I just ended my broadcast.
Yeah, you can touch the screen to view their profile, and you can block them straight away, and they're gone. 3 people. Penny had and then so did Joanne and I. She talked about giraffes and ass licking and stuff. Yeah, you just touch the screen on your phone, and then it'll come up with a little box of options what you want to do, and you can view their profile, follow them, or you can block them. Yeah, I think that's mostly covered stuff, really. Anybody got anything to add?
What's Joy been doing? Have you been using Periscope, Joy?
Well, I used it once, and the boy and me was telling me that I had my phone the wrong way, and I didn't know what she meant, and I was flicking it all over the place. And it was because I had it sideways, because I'm thinking, well, if I want it to go onto YouTube after, so if I record it like this, and then I upload it, surely when it's going to be wrong if I want to upload it to YouTube.
Well, you can't do it that way. If you go that way, people see you upside down.
Can they not just tilt their phone?
No, because that's how it's done. It's always done in portrait.
So it's not really done so that you can put on YouTube then?
If you do it that way, then the people who are watching you will see you like that, but the chat will be at the side. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
They have to tilt the phone to chat to you and put the, you know, but they can still view you like that. I'm not sure how it works on YouTube because I haven't got around to doing that. I have saved all my broadcasts, and I think I'm going to do what Penny suggested a few weeks ago, and that's just to put a private list of all the Periscopes, just so I got record, and as well as because it's going to take up so much space on my phone anyway, just so that you can look back and see how you've progressed, as it were, and see, you know, what kind of interaction you had.
And the only other thing I was very aware of after I did it, or sort of while I was doing it, is I was at an event with lots of children, and so I was just filming it. Oh, this is interesting. And then I suddenly thought, I've actually just like let anyone on the internet know the whereabouts of all these children. So, and then I don't want to put my son in danger, but he was doing something, and I just thought, actually, I can see the dangers of how easy children can be convinced to do this live streaming now, and you know, I'm so a bit like about that. So yeah,
you can choose when you before you broadcast, you can choose where you are, so you can put a pinpoint location.
Oh yeah.
You also do a private broadcast to certain people. When you do a public broadcast, you can do it so that only people who are following you can chat to you. And I think that cuts down a lot of people who are viewing. If they can't chat, then they're not going to view. Because even if they want to say, hi, I'm from Brazil or something, no, they want that interaction. They're not going to watch you and not say anything, basically. So I think it's I think you have to be very mindful. It's like I said at the beginning, I noticed that I didn't, a few of the pinpoint ones I did, they did my exact location, but when I didn't do my pinpoint, it actually showed me the last location I was at, which was in London, which is like 150 miles away. But I tend to try and do more outdoor scopes within the area where I live, which is about 20 minutes, so it could be anywhere. And I'm trying not to go to those places too often, So yeah, it is one of those things. But then I think you have to have some really crazy stalker to sort of like know, you know, have a map where you are all the time. So if
I was
everything
thinking,
happened
well, I was thinking of
online,
more of people I didn't know. So
yeah,
there might be someone in the background who's escaped from domestic violence, you know,
yes.
and then I've put it online, and then, you know, and I never considered that before, and then I was like, oh, so I'm more mindful of that. But obviously, not everyone's as moral or doesn't
Well,
think about it.
but
So,
that's the case with photographs anyway. You know, if you take a photograph of a crowd at something as well, you know.
but isn't that changing? There was a thing on change.org, and they're trying to stop you taking photos in public places or something.
I don't see how that can happen.
I don't see how they can take it, but I just think it's something that people are mindful of. You know, I was, be careful how I say this, I was chatting to a woman the other day who has a family member whose photo cannot be put on Facebook for various reasons in that person's past. And she was just saying that she's finding it harder and harder to make other people understand that without going through this person's full background, which you don't want to do all the time. And yeah, it's just, you've got to think that there are people with those situations, you know, in those scenarios out there. But then you've got to think, well, also, what would the chances be of someone who they don't want to see a photo of that person happening to come across, you know?
Yeah.
Chances are small, but I do know of a real life scenario where something did happen to a fostered child because a photo ended up in a publication somewhere that it shouldn't have, you know, so things do happen. Yeah, it's just something to be mindful of.
But I think that's a danger of Periscope, really, isn't it? Because you can't, once you've done it, you can't take it back. You know, at least if you're doing videos for YouTube and you're doing photos for your blog, you can look at it and say, well, can I edit that? Or can I delete it? Do I have to use that photo if some random child's moved in front of the camera? No, but on Periscope it's too late. Yeah, but people have seen it, haven't they? You can't delete it.
Yeah, people have seen it, but then you've got to say, well, how many people would happen to be watching at the time, you know?
Yeah, because at least it deletes very quickly after the event.
Mm.
Another thing is that going back to it being, you know, gone, you know, you're filming stuff in an instant kind of thing. When I did the Harry Potter thing, I actually wish I hadn't periscoped it, or I did less periscope and I did more actual camera video filming on my camera, because it would be better quality. And then it would be better for me to put on YouTube, and I could got more, you know, audience participation, you know, because I have more content on my YouTube. And the same went on the Bristol. I decided, right, I'm going to go through Bristol. Let's do some periscoping through Bristol. I got out my got out my camera, started writing broadcast, and we had a stream of nudist bikers pass us. And there's about 6 of them passed, and I thought, oh, right, I'm going to periscope this. And it went on for about 10 minutes, and I had some interaction. Well, I've got an Android phone, and it's not great for outside broadcasts, really. And I sort of, like, afterwards, I realised, I thought, it was great, not interaction, and my mum and my son took pictures, but I think, oh, well, actually, it would be better if I did it, you know, the video on my camera. I can't get that moment back. So it's kind of thing when you go somewhere, you know, or okay, we're like, is it, you know, how is it going to turn out, kind of thing. Because when we went to Harry Potter, I had to go back twice because I filmed where we were, then I had to go back to take pictures. And it would have been too much with the kids there to then say, right, I'm going to film for my on my video, my camera as well, on my phone. So it's deciding in that moment, you know, are you going to plan a scope and give off information? If you're going to be there in a moment or doing something special, do you want to use your scope, or do you want to, you know?
So am I the only person that goes, hang on a minute, it's quite amazing that I can have something this size and I can live broadcast video all around the world. That's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, no, do you know what? It's because, like, people still don't understand what a Hangout is and haven't explained what a Hangout is. Really? You can talk to, yes, you can. You can talk to lots of people at the same time across the world, and it gets recorded on YouTube. I'm still having to now you know, we've been doing this for so many months, so I can't be there at 11 o'clock to watch you. Yeah, I know, but you can watch us on YouTube afterwards. It's recorded. It's a live hangout, yes, because you can watch it live, but you can also watch it back on YouTube. And so Periscope thing, people say, oh, watching, yes. And when I was sort of explaining to my mum, she said, people, what's that? People, yes, people, what are you doing? So I think it's one of those things that only a niche amount of people could be using on a regular basis, or, you know.
So during the live Periscope, you can chat, and so I could ask you questions. Is there any sort of comment facility like Google Plus? Afterwards, you can put in the comment section and ask, but so there's no questions after that.
No, it's nothing that they can do. The only thing that people can do after is that they put the hearts. So if they like during the replay, they can put more hearts on. That's the only thing that people can do after you replayed it. Oh, I got to go. Can we continue?
Yeah, so going back to that thing Penny was saying about it is amazing that we can just broadcast around the world. Anybody in any corner of the world can watch exactly what's happening in our tiny little village right now, and that is brilliant. But I think if you try and explain to other people that there is an audience out there who want access to the most mundane parts of your life, just go, no, don't be daft. But honestly, as bloggers, you kind of appreciate that people, there is an audience there for people who just want to watch you do normal things.
I think it's a novelty factor, isn't it? It's a novelty factor that I can sit here in Hertfordshire and watch someone in Scotland making a cup of tea or something like that. You know, I think there is quite a big novelty factor there, and I wonder if that'll wear off. But, you know, it's like the whole everyone taking a photo of their lunch or whatever and putting it on Instagram. You know, I think that's not happening as much now, but, well.
Just in time.
You're just following different people, Penny.
This is what I was talking about. Just arrived.
Is it your tripod?
My tripod. So you fix this so it's little legs and it bends round things. You can go on a fence.
They're the gorilla pods, aren't they?
Yeah, it's a gorilla pod.
Yeah.
And this is quite handy for not just filming but for watching stuff. So I can sit there and have this on my table and have my phone in there, and I can crochet and watch stuff, which is what I did for about 7 days before actually using Periscope. I just sat there every day watching loads of broadcasts, deciding how to go about using it. So that's set up. So you've got a little thing there for put the camera, your phone in, and you twist it around, and then you can film. The other thing I got for outside broadcast is a microphone for your little microphone you stick on the top. Like I said, some my scopes weren't great because I got an Android phone, but I wanted to make sure that people could hear me okay when I was outside. So this is a microphone, and it attaches to your top lapel. It's called a lapel, and I haven't used one of these before, so I can't really show you how it is. But I'll be trying that out later. Now I've got my replacement tripod. So hopefully my outside scopes are going to be a bit better now. But these were £15 each.
I have to say, Ali, that's very professional. I mean, my last Periscope was basically me just kind of getting my phone and waving it around for it to rattle out with a little Mario on, you know?
Well,
and it was shaky, but...
Actually, the very first scope I watched was this girl who's an entrepreneur. I don't actually know what she does, but she's really interesting. And she's showing all the tech you need when you're doing scopes. And then she showed the tripod, and she said about the microphone. And there was other bits and pieces as well, which I forgot what they were now, but they were the things I thought, right, okay, I'll try the tripod, and then we'll see how we go when I'm actually scoping, if I need a microphone or not. And because where I go is by the river, it's quite windy. So yeah, I'm going to try that out into that now. So yeah, so oh, another thing, talking about privacy and that kind of thing. When we're at Brit Mums, there was one of the speakers said, please don't Periscope this session. You've paid good money to be here. By giving people a free, look at this session, that's not what I'm paid here for. It's not what you paid to do. So why would you do that? So I actually sort of like, after I heard that, I sort of went in and said, is it okay, but Periscope this? And they said, fine. And everybody's sort of like, oh yeah, of course you can. I want to be on Periscope, kind of thing. So I think that's another mindful thing, because you can see the implications of somebody's at a rock concert. And I've seen quite a few people do that, rock concert and stuff, periscoping and going places where they're not supposed to and scoping. So, yeah, it's a tricky one. So it all boils down to who you are, really, and how
that balance, right, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about us all being sensible, because we're all sensible, aren't we?
We are.
Sort of.
When we remember.
Usually.
Right, so I think that's everything we covered, really, isn't it? Until give it a few months and something else new comes along and people don't like Periscope anymore. So next week we're going to talk about how to keep cool in the summer, because this week we've reached record highs temperatures for the month of July ever in the UK. It was something like 37 degrees in Heathrow. Didn't reach that high here, 29 on Wednesday, but it was still hot. So I think we're going to sort of like give you tips through pregnancy, babies, how to cook young children, that kind of thing. Does that sound cool?
Yep.
Yeah. And so we'll see you next week. So bye-bye.
Bye.